ya art nerds. So a while back, I took you guys through a very small selection of my mini comic and zine library. Today I'm back with a few more of my mini comics and zines from said collection. This is in preparation for my Making Comics and Zine class, taught in collaboration with Nashville Community Ed. Some of these are going to be familiar, but there's also some new ones. And I wanted to really exemplify the wide variety of zines and mini comics that you can make and that are available. So zines and mini comics are typically small-ish, handmade, home-assembled books. A few of these have been professionally printed, but most of these were home printed and home assembled. And we're going to start with this beautiful book. It came from the can by Amanda Bimson. This is interesting because it utilizes an accordion style of binding. It's only printed on one side, and this would be kind of considered an art book because all of these are the original prints. As you guys can see, it's really a beautiful book, and you can either read it by flipping through, or you can read it by actually opening it up and experiencing the story in that way. So what's interesting about a book like this is the accordion fold control, well, it opens up options for the reader to have more control over how they read and how they consume the story. And this is just one of 8 copies. So something like this would be considered an art piece. It would be more expensive. It's expensive to produce. It's expensive to purchase. The audience might be kind of limited, but something like this can also be a work of joy, something you love to make, something that came from your heart. This could be a really good option for maybe nice watercolor prints or really nice screen prints, or these look like beautiful woodblock, or they're probably linoleum prints now that I'm looking at them. And they're very, very clean. These are really nice. Now they do say that it was printed on a Vandercook printing press. The type was hand set in 18-point balloon bold, and the paper Strathmore 400 Artigan drawing paper for the pages and arches cover for the illustrations. So this is sort of what I would consider the highest end of zines and mini comics. So we're going to put this aside. And zines can cover all sorts of topics. As I mentioned in my prior zines and mini comic video, you can talk about recipes, you can collect prose, you can use it as sort of a magazine where it's a combination of things. It can be one creator, it can be multiple creators. Right now online, zines are becoming synonymous a bit with like fanzines, multi-creator, high production, usually kickstarted or crowdfunded. Usually sold at a bit of a markup, usually professionally printed, often in color. That doesn't have to be the definition of zines. It's kind of unfortunate that the definition is narrowing so much. So I hope this video can help expand that out again. So here we have a slick print production of color pencil drawings by Lisa Dubois. So zines can be in black and white, they can be in color, they can include text, they don't have to include text. This one is kind of a curated collection of really nice polished sketches. So this can be a great way to kind of, let's say you are an Instagram artist, for example, and you have a lot of really cool art, a lot of really cool sketches, but they're not necessarily tied together. A zine can be a great way to bring that art into kind of a physical piece and then have something to sell at cons to the people who enjoy your work. They can also be used to make political statements. In fact, that's quite a popular use for zines. And I wish I had a larger collection of feminist zines from the 60s and 70s. I think I have like 2 examples in my collection, but that was a really popular use at one time. So what's really cool to me about zines and mini comics is they're this really egalitarian sort of alternative press way to share information. And this is really cool because it's a screen printed cover on orange cardstock. So it's like 3 color screen printing. And I'm trying to be careful with it because with all of these, I used to do printmaking, I used to do screen printing, and I used to do intaglio printing. And these are individual works of art themselves. Someone pulled this by hand. So I want to kind of preserve the originals as much as possible. So these are journal comics dealing with the immediate aftermath of the 2016 election. So this is a mini comic, and it's a way to kind of process thoughts and feelings. Who did this? Sorry. Pranis T. Naujokaitis, and I apologize if I mispronounced your name. And you can get a copy through ghostcardpress.com. And I purchased these, I don't purchase zines online. I kind of have a rule about that. Unless you're like a really, really close friend who I never get to see in person, I'll buy your stuff online. But it's kind of a rule that I like to buy my zines, my mini comics in person. I buy them at all kinds of shows, from little handmade book shows like Handmade and Bound to A2CAF, to at anime cons. If I see zines that are like sketchbook zines, I'll buy those, to Noka's Fest. For me, part of this collection is purchasing them from the artists in person. So you can also go, lower production, where this was done on a copy machine, and zines used to be done frequently at places like Kinko's, Staples, that sort of thing, where you can control how you make your copies. I personally really hate going to Staples and Office Max, since as they're kind of closing their doors and changing how they do business, they typically don't employ enough people who know how to work the print center. So I actually invested in a toner printer, and I do all my printing at home now. And zines can also be kind of charming children's tales or storybooks. And this is in color with color pencil. It's beautiful. This is by Megan Moiser. I think I purchased this at, I want to say Noka's Fest, but it might be A2CAF. Zines can also represent personal experiences, like with Unprecedented. I believe this is one about being, I'd have to reread it, but I think it's about being non-binary, by Ronnie Ritchie. And this might have been purchased at my last Mocha Fest, because it says 2014 on it. And I don't want to flip through every single page of these, because I want you guys to seek them out if possible and purchase them yourself. And this one's neat because it also includes kind of a journal entry, as well as sort of a bibliography. Oh, genderqueer, my apologies. So it's about genderqueer experiences. This one is Perfect Bound, and it's a full color book. And with Perfect Bound books this small, first of all, it means you sent it away to be printed somewhere. And this is usually done through print on demand services. And you have to be really careful with small books like this, because they tend to crack and break apart. They're just a little small for perfect binding. So I'm going to be a little bit careful with it. And this appears to be a collection of art and process art, which is nice. It gives you a peek inside the artist process, how they work. It's one of the reasons I really enjoy releasing sketchbook minis, sketchbook ash cans, because there's a lot of younger artists who are interested in learning how to draw, and those kind of books sort of reveal the process in a way that they can understand. Sometimes when you look at a finished piece, it's so beautiful, you get so caught in the details that you can't see how it was done. So I really enjoy these sort of collections. And this one is gorgeous. I got this one at TCAF. It's by Combotron, and I was so excited when I saw that they'd announced that they were doing this on Twitter, because I really like their art and I love their art style. So this is a collection of illustrations with descriptions. This is actually one of my favorite types of zines to make. This is what I enjoy doing with my Inktober drawings. And what's cool about this is it can be a lot easier than doing a comic, because instead of worrying about the balance of a page, you're just focusing on making an attractive illustration. And I'm not trying to demean this art at all. For some people with tight time constraints, thinking about a single beautiful image is easier than thinking about a composed page. It can also include kind of beautiful spreads like this. Ooh, look at that. The hamburger spread is great. And this one's cool because it has an interesting gatefold. And this is also neat because it can be done on a single sheet of paper, and it also changes how the reader experiences the comic. You can also take pages from your webcomic and release them in sort of mini comic form. This is a great way to inexpensively distribute your webcomic in a print medium. And this is what a lot of artists do, or they used to do, like, I guess in 2014 and before then, just to sort of have something cool to sell at like Mocha Fest, and then you can kind of reach a new audience. Oh, this was purchased as GMX, I think. And this is by Boper 9. I think they were a SCAD kid too. And again, what's really charming about this is that it has somewhat low production values in terms of how it was printed. Like, the art is gorgeous, but as you can see, the printing is a little grayed out. But this allows the artist to sell it at a lower price point, thus reach possibly a larger new audience that they wouldn't otherwise reach. So this can be a really great tool for self-promotion. This I picked up at 2015 or 2016, I think. And you see this, it's sequential and it's storytelling, but it's kind of a really nice simplified version of it. So you don't have to overcomplicate your comics if that's not your end goal. You can use small, sort of distinct, uninflected illustrations, like with these foods here, and they all together, they convey the idea that these are all things Frankie the cat enjoys eating, but maybe shouldn't eat. Whereas cat food is the thing Frankie should eat and doesn't want to eat. So something that I think is really charming about this particular medium, Minicomics and Zines, is that you can play really loose with how your art, you can play loose with how it's presented, and it still comes across as a coherent, satisfying whole. It's something I think also makes this format really accessible to artists of a variety of skill sets and artists of a variety of experiences and ages. This is one we picked up at Handmade and Bound in 2016. And Yumi was right next to us and got interviewed by Nashville Scene. And this is also a collection of comics, and they're really nice. A lot of care and detail went into drawing these. And they seem to, for the most part, revolve around the 9-panel grid. There are some variations, like here, but Yumi starts with the 9-panel grid and then kind of expands from there. And if you're interested, Joseph actually interviewed her, so you can check out her interview here on this channel. That's another thing I really, really love about buying zines and minis in person, is often we can interview the artist, so we can kind of share their experiences with those of you who watch this channel. And for me, it just makes a more rewarding give and take. Matt Nealing was another person we got to interview, and I believe he handles the teen section of the Putnam County Library. And I believe, I know they have a comic show that he runs, but I'd have to remember the name. I'm so sorry. I've tabled at it. It's a nice little show. about an hour out from Nashville. And I met him at A2CAF, and Joseph interviewed him as well. And these are comics from his college newspaper that he kind of collected into a mini comic for distribution. And what's neat about these is they read in a horizontal format, the hot dog format, which is just a little bit unusual. Oh, a color insert. So that's another thing. When you're self-printing these, if you want to have a color page put in, you can do that because you're the one who can control that. You can even print most of them in black and white and then that one page in color and just insert it in. And then we have some copies of Urban. Let's see, how many of these do I have? I know I have like 1 through 4, but how many of these did I grab? These are by Alyssa Harris. So I grabbed 2 through 4. I'm just going to flip through one. Well, number 2. So this has a really nice, heavy 80-pound, it seems like stock cover color, printed in color on both sides with an index presented as a menu, which is a really cute conceit. The paper is nice and heavy. The print quality seems really nice. So this is a mini that could really take a lot of abuse. And these are just experiences with living in living in New York City. So, oh, okay, yeah. And these are all staple bound or saddle stitch. And this is just the program guide from NOCA's Fest 2015. It does have some art in it, which would make it a zine. There's not only is there rules, but there's art and the exhibitor list. And I showed this off in my last zine flip through video, so I highly recommend you guys check that out. I'm not going to do that on air here. What's really cool about this tiny little beautiful thing by Ashley Quigg is it is so simple and so beautiful. It's just instructions on how to make a paper frog in this tiny, really precious format. And this is something that if you're new to comics and you're unsure of your drawing skills, and Ashley Quigg has beautiful art, so this is not a comment on Ashley Quigg's art. This is just a comment on accessibility in comics. You can make something like a tutorial. Creating tutorials is a really easy way to kind of cut your teeth doing comics. And a fun exercise for me is taking recipes and then making kind of just step-by-step tutorial comics out of them. Super simple. But see, as this is really nice, it's got really clear form, it's really easy to understand, but you don't have to be a master artist to create something like this either. In fact, you could, like with origami, you could just draw what you see at each step. And then we've got teeny tiny 8-page, I believe these are from that 8-page method I demonstrated, except where the pages have been slit so it's easier to read. And this is Fart Knocking Comics. I have not heard that word in a million years. Yeah, I can tell this. Ooh, okay. Yeah. All right, I recognize this. Now, normally you would put a staple in the middle. And I have a tutorial demonstrating how to make a tiny 8-page comic like this. It's very easy, and it is the method that I showed the kids at the Gallatin Public Library. This is cool because this artist really went to a lot of effort to draw these pages, and it's neat to see so much detail in such a small form factor. Oh, sorry, some of this is kind of graphic. I know this is a PG channel. And we have another beautiful little item, the Book of Hours. This is a Cowboy House book. So what's cool about Cowboy House is they used to do a comic subscription service. It was like 4 guys. Joseph interviewed Pretty Jeff a few years ago, and they did it for like 2 years. And we got one once every month. Yeah, they sent out a box of comics once a month. And it wasn't just like 2 comics. It was like 8 comics. And I think I I think I looked at their amusement park box in my other video, so I really recommend you guys check that out. But it was super cool because they were themed, and so much time and attention to detail went into every box. Like, it was really a great labor of love, and I was so impressed that Pretty Jeff could organize these other artists to create this coherent thing every single month, because my attempts to organize other artists results in a lot of flaking and a lot of brush off. So I was really, really impressed, not only with the product, but with the organization and the leadership and the motivation that I knew had to go into it. This book contains 3 comics that were written and drawn in a time frame as close to 12 hours as possible, which is really cool. So Jeff is working under a time limit and seeing what he can produce. These comics, the theme for these comics was identity. The contributors and the amount of time they spent writing and drawing their comics are as follows. Fred, Exorcism of the Gerasene Demonic, 13 hours. Jeff, Jet Skis of Mars, 15 hours. Mike, The Maze, 18 hours. I'm glad that they were honest too, because they went a little over. Oh, and then what was cool about this is that they kind of included, original art in a lot of their boxes, which is just, I think that's incredibly cool, and it's not necessarily something I could do myself. So I'm really impressed that they do it. And this is just a teeny tiny 3-person anthology. And something about these tiny books, they're really precious, but you have to trim these things. My comp partner Heidi Black and I used to do the Little Book of Monsters anthologies, and the trimming was such a pain in the butt. So I just do all my minis at 5.5 by 8.5 now, because I ain't got no time to be trimming. Then here we have Boulder and Fleet. Some of you guys might be familiar with Lean Into Art, or Gosa, that's Jersey Droid. Well, I always say his name wrong. I'm so sorry. My apologies. But this is his Inktober 2015 sketchbook. And this is super cool because A, it is printed on really nice paper to best capture the color. So you are capturing an experience, which I really, really enjoy. And I really love the juxtaposition of art and text. And I love the juxtaposition of process and inks, as well as the explanations for these. These are really cool. It feels like an art of book, which I really love. And I love seeing other artists create their own art of books. So this is gorgeous. I can't wait to show my class this. I showed this Red Riding Hood mini off in my last zine flip through. So I'm just going to quickly demonstrate that this is an accordion folded comic, and I highly recommend, again, you go check out my other zine video. Let me see though if I can throw the creator's name out here. I don't think I can. Please sign your books, creators, somewhere. Oh, this is neat because it looks like they used envelopes. Ah, okay. Okay, here we go. Pish Posh Art, thepishposh.com, Sarah Gramelsbacher, I believe. I realized in my last zine video that I wasn't as good as I needed to be about giving the names. So, of course, I'm trying to rectify that. So these are some small stab stitched or stab bound, and those of you who do bookbinding, feel free to correct me in the comments. Stab binding, I think, is how it's usually referred to. And these are really what one would think of as zines, because it's poetry, flash fiction, garbage, photography. And this is the first issue by Brain Salt Press. And I picked up, I think, like the first 3, maybe more. Maybe I bought the 5 set at Noka's Fast last year. And this is what I'm talking about when I tell people your zines don't have to be art. I mean, poetry, there's Muybridge's stuff, there's what looks like a part of a sketch. There's short fiction. Again, short fiction. So you could do collage, you can do prose, you can do found art, like that kind of looks like some graffiti. You can do text art. You can do all kinds of things with zines. Another Brain Salt. Poems plus math equals salt. Art is greater than news and photos, or I don't know, art leads to news and photos. I'm sorry. This is number 5, also stab bound. And even the art, wow, this is probably tripping my eyes out more than the camera because I'm still dealing with a nasty cold, but really trippy. Even, I mean, the art for this is arguably very simple. It's just squares. They're beautifully arranged though. And then this is poetry, but it's been hand lettered so that it feels like art. It is art. I mean, poetry is art, yes, but now it becomes a graphic art in this format. And then here's some math, or part of an old pop quiz, I'm not sure. So with zines like this, they're trying to create an experience rather than necessarily a cohesive read. And they're also, I would bet there are multiple contributors to this, but perhaps not. It doesn't actually say. And then we have Rocketsaurus by Anne and Josie Joy. And this one looks like it was screen printed, so it becomes another precious object. But inside, even though the cover is beautifully screen printed, it's been printed using a toner printer on fairly thin paper, which makes for kind of a retro read feel, which is neat. And it's been staple stitched. And the art inside is gorgeous. It works so well for black and white. Very nice, clean line art, but somewhat simple because it's in a smaller printed format. You want to work kind of simple so that it reproduces well and it's easy to read. And then we have by Avi DePano with illustrations by Annalise DePano. We have a story about a cat cutting. And it's illustrations with text, so it's kind of like a picture book, or I guess it is a picture book. This is such a cute illustration right there. And then I have a couple examples of minis sent to me by my friends. And these are mini comics. This is a sample of Kabocha's webcomic, Linked. And you can read that at linked-comic.com, I believe. Actually, I'm sure. linkedcomic.com. There we go. So it's a small reproduction of like the first, I think it's more than the first 10 pages of their webcomic, but it reproduced really nicely. And Sam's work is cool because Sam continues to use like digital screen tones, which many creators will say, you know, you do have some trouble reproducing. These seem to reproduce really well though. And then Shuna sent me a copy of Help Ghost. This is so cute. And I don't want to flip through all of it because I know this is available for sale. So if you think this looks cute, you can find it here. But this was a mini comic designed to be a mini comic, whereas this is a selection from, I think it's the first chapter, from an existing comic. So this was designed to be a mini comic, and this is a comic released in a episodic issue form. And then this beautiful little piece was printed on pearl paper, and it's a combination, I believe, if it's the one I'm thinking of, prose, maybe with a little bit of poetry, and actually it's written like a journal now that I look at it. I bought like 4 of these from this creator, and they're all different. So you can also use zines as a way to share interesting journal entries. Yeah, as I said, I bought a few. These also seem to be themed journal entries. As you can see, they make a beautiful set already. And then this is like a children's book sort of thing by Brain Salt Press. I love the hand lettering. Oh, it's a song. So it's an illustrated song. Another example of all the things that you can do with zines. Or you can make a small dragon sketchbook. And I picked this one up at the Minicon in Putnam County. So it's illustrations with a name and then with a short sort of quip which is kind of my favorite way of doing zines as well. That's how I did Favorite Fiction, no, 31 Days Under the Waves and Magical Girl March, and that's how we used to do the monster anthologies. Now, there are some size limitations with zines. We haven't really reached that here, but within my own, I've found that if I print on heavier paper or if I print something like 60 pages, which is a crazy amount for a mini, I know, the staples just won't go through. So it's kind of caused me to rethink how I do my sketchbook collections. So there are size limitations to these. And Sorry Trees is a collection of sketches and mini comics. By Caitlin Plovnick. And this is a collection of teaching stories. They're rather thick little mini. Looks like the back's been double folded, so this may have been sent out to get printed. The Teaching Chronicles. You can find more at maddieMac.com. And what I like about this is it's got kind of a rougher, looser inking style. It's ink wash. The borders are really rough and loose. The lettering is rough and loose, but it really fits the format and it really fits the kind of story. And then this one's really neat. Mathematical Solutions for a Global Crisis. So this is covering a really important social issue, environmental issue, with a combination of illustrations and text. So sometimes you can talk about really serious topics in a way that people find a little more appealing when you do it in kind of a comic or an illustrative form. I think I talked about this one last time as well. Written, illustrated, and lived by Katie Armentrout. You're Too Kind, an anxious comic about receiving compliments. And we were tabling next to each other at Nocas Fest. I really liked your stuff. And I know I flipped through this one in my last zine video. This is a beautifully illustrated kind of cookbook zine, and that might be my favorite kind of zine that I just don't see enough is cookbook zines. This was another one that I flipped through in my last video. Written by U10, Yoshi's Forgetfulness. Number 20. Somehow I only picked up that one though. This one's cool. I think I got this at AAC 2015. They had an airmail/zine exhibition going on, which was really neat. So it's just a cool sort of, it's a cool piece with stamps in it and other ephemera. Ah, mail art, there we go. Another brain salt. I told you guys I had a lot of the brain salt ones. Another mini with an unusual, slightly unusual format. I Want to Believe by Chad Nabors. And it's really cool because it reads in a vertical format rather than in a horizontal format. So you read top to bottom rather than left to right. Another Jersey Droid comic, Pickles and Taft, with a beautiful printed cover. Probably picked this up at A2CAF one year. Another Chadwick Nabors comic where we're reading in the vertical format. Although this one kind of plays with it because this one makes you twist it as you read, which is cool. This is neat. It is a choose your own adventure. And yep, it's another pretty Jeff comic. Illustration and design by Cowboy House. This is very reminiscent of our childhoods. So this is literally a choose your own adventure book, printed in zine format with a color illustration text, and then your choices at the bottom of the page. And it's really cool that they were able to accomplish so much in such a short format. Another cookbook by Sun Yoon Choi and Eric Watkins, Korean Everyday Cooking. You can read more at porkbellycomics.com. I don't think I actually flipped through this one last time, so I'm going to flip through it again. And if you guys enjoy my zine flip through videos, let me know. I have a really, really large collection. I can just kind of work my way through. So what's nice about this, so I really love recipe comics, and part of that is because I love collections. I love drawing collections of things, and I love drawing food. So zine collections, zine recipe books are so fun for me because it's collections of food. You're drawing all the ingredients that go in, and then the steps are usually very simple, which is nice. You can produce these quickly, and they're still quite attractive. And what's cool about this one is it has all the ingredients that you need, and then it has a comic about eating them. And to me, these are all works of art. So I do try to be, if it comes with a bag, I put it back in the bag. I try to keep the ephemera with the books. So that other people, when I loan these out, other people can enjoy the experience the way I was able to enjoy the experience, at least as much as possible. Part of the joy of the experience to me is buying them at the show, talking to the person who made them, finding out why they make their zines, what they enjoy about making zines, why the topic is important to them. And to be frank, I don't like buying from creators who aren't willing to talk about those sort of things. I'm passionate about comics, so I like talking to people who are passionate about zines and comics and making recipes and writing poetry. So to me, that passion is more important sometimes than the content inside, the intention of the creator's heart. So if you're selling zines, you need to think about selling that passion too. I've gotten people to buy comics, not from begging, but just from being excited about comics and loving my work. I've gotten people who are not comic people to buy and try my stuff just because I'm super excited about it. Passion and love for your work is an important spice. Another cool Chad Nabor's comic, Social Mediocrity. And these are all inspired by songs, which is really cool. So you can take your inspiration for making zines, for making minis, for making comics from anywhere. Any source is a legitimate source. It can come from your heart. It can come from media that you love that inspires you. It can come from dreams. It can come from your friends. It can come from your imagination. Here we have a Crater in 9 comic by Zachary Longo. Another beautiful comic. I think this was originally drawn as an Instagram comic, which is really cool. And this is the collection in print. And I believe I picked this up. Oh, I love this character design. I picked this up at a 2CAF. And something that Zach has taken into consideration is limited dialogue, which in a small format like this is kind of important because you just don't have that much room on the page for dialogue or for narration or for exposition. There are definitely people who can make more text work. The format has to change. The way they draw the pictures has to change. Zach has a lot of details in these illustrations, and if this was covered in text, you would lose all that and it would become difficult to read. We have Bubble Planet by Jessica Cantaloupe. This person is a fellow Nashville artist. I really like their art, and I believe this little mini was given to me for free, but I think I insisted on trading for it because I am a big believer in trading zines and minis. And what's neat about this is normally when I tell people they should try making mini comics for print, I recommend that they go with 8 pages because just the way pages are structured, and I have a video explaining this much better, the way pages are structured, you can typically get 4 pages out of a single sheet of paper. So an 8-page mini comic can be as simple as just 2 pages. What's neat about this is Jessica was able to get a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 page comic printed and assembled. Now, there is information on the back, but we have the blank interior cover, and nobody really misses that too much. And I really like Jessica's art. I think it really works well in this format, and the lettering is also nice and clear to read. The pages are just filled with detail, which is really nice. This is a really charming comic. You can find more at jessicacantaloupe.com. Now, comics don't have to be serious, obviously, with Bubble Planet and Crater and Nine and the story of Kooting. They don't have to be serious. But they can be really silly, too, like the surprisingly complicated Reginald Barclay instruction manual by Tori Wolcott and Keen Sue. And what's cool about this is it's just that, an instruction manual for a particularly precious, finicky dog. We have the wake-up schedule, or the daily schedule. We have all the accessories. We have all the favorite food. We have bedtime rituals and more bedtime rituals. We also have cute little outfits. And then we have the As Eavesdrop series, and I think I have 1, 2, and 3. What's neat about this series is that it works on the conceit of these are overheard conversations, and they're just kind of small slices into everyday life, and they capture the humor and kind of the absurdity of just living in a world filled with people who have individual desires and individual needs, and only catching a snippet of those desires and those needs. And you can find these at fridgemag.com. I think I picked this up at Noka's Fest, and these are by Suzanne Bauman. I really like this cover. I also love how he's considering that corn. And this is a collection of personals sold or given away at Noka's Fest 2007. I'm actually not sure if these are real or not, and there are phone numbers in here, so I don't want to show it on camera, but we have titles like Scorpio Passing Sagittarius, Juicy Fruit 6 Main Squeeze, Casual / Forever, Magnificent Treasure Seeking Brilliant Jim, Small Buy Scorpio, Looking for a One Life Stand, that's super cute, Open-Minded Busy Nutria, Aging Intellectual Seeks Dumpster Rat, Ride into Chaos with Me, Hands in the Dough, Head in the Clouds. So zines can even be a collection of personals. And then finally for today, we have Sewer Cats by Jess. And it's I believe Jess did this comic as their Inktober in 2017. And I had the pleasure of watching it develop over on their Instagram. And then it was collected into a mini comic, which I had the pleasure of picking up at Noka's Fest. So you can find out more at jessannarts.com and at jessannarts. And this is really just a small selection of my zine and mini comic collection. So if you guys enjoy these flip through videos, let me know and I'll work my way through my collection. It's a pleasure to be able to share other artists' work with you guys. And on that note, you guys should definitely check out our artist interview playlists, especially if you're a comic artist selling comics at shows, particularly if you're a comic artist who needs a little bit of help, needs a little bit of guidance. Originally, those interviews were recorded for use by Sequelab, which was SCAD's sequential art podcast, but we continue to do them because we really believe in showcasing other artists, helping other artists, and because it's just a really cool way to kind of capture this particular time period, how it develops over time, how artists live in this time period, how they earn money in this time period. It's a great place to get advice and to learn from other people's experiences. And we've got some really phenomenal interviews that I would love it if you guys would actually check out. From Babs Tarr to Raina Telgemeier to regular old schmucks like me, This flip through was recorded as part of my Making Comics and Zine class that I am teaching through Nashville Community Ed this fall. And I just wanted to showcase the variety of art styles, the variety of content, even the variety of production methods that one can use to make zines and mini comics. I really want to try and break down as many barriers as possible so that my students and those watching can feel comfortable making zines, can feel comfortable trying this out. I know that doing something new can be scary, but the barrier for entry can be really, really low, and it really doesn't have to cost much. So if you're interested in learning about making comics and zines and you don't live in the Nashville, Tennessee area, you can check out my Intro to Comic Craft playlist here on this channel. You can also check out my Intro to Comic Craft blog series over at nattosoup.blogspot.com. And once you're confident in your comic making abilities, you can head on over to howtobeaconartist.tumblr.com to learn how to sell your comics at conventions. I want to thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys will check out the artists mentioned in this video. I hope you will consider purchasing their zines, their mini comics, through their online portals, or maybe if you see them at a con, purchasing their stuff at a show. All of these are really phenomenal, exciting works. I'm so happy to share them with you. I think each and every one is a work of art and an artifact worth preserving. And if you agree, you should ask your local library about starting a zine library. There are many libraries that actually have zine collections now, and I would know because I've donated zines to many of those libraries. And the only way libraries know what to offer their not constituents, but their audience, their demographic, the community that they're serving is by you guys actually asking, you guys checking those things out, and you guys showing interest. So if it's something you want to see, let them know. Offer to help them organize one. And if you're interested in your library offering a Comic Con, let them know that as well. Again, they don't know unless you guys let them know what you're interested in. So thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully I'll see you guys again really soon. Bye guys.